I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been rich twice and poor twice. I've been in great shape. I've been fat. And I bring a very different perspective. And I've done some crazy things in my life. And
Hey guys, this is Iohn Klein. Welcome to Brandwidth. We're here today with William Hogarty, the fittest man in the world. Go ahead, William. How you doing?
that's quite an intro. I'm doing really, really good. It's a pleasure being on this podcast, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I am too. Really excited. We had a very interesting pre-pod call where we talked a lot about a lot more about my health journey than I was expecting. I was hoping to hear a little bit more about you, but that's what we're doing today on the podcast. So, tell us about yourself.
So can I share about the intro call, or would that be
Sure,
too
that's
much?
fine. That's fine.
So an intro call, in my opinion, is kind of like to test the waters to see if there's a fit, right? Well, as soon as I got John's shirt off, I knew it was a fit. And
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
funny.
knew we were going to have a good call, and we were going to make a difference because that's what it's all about. And I'll just share this. I'm the most humble, confident man probably in the US. Okay. And I've been on both sides of the fence. I've been rich twice and poor twice. I've been in great shape. I've been fat. And I bring a very different perspective. And I've done some crazy things in my life. And really, I hope I come across very humble, yet I'm very confident who I am.
I love it. I love it. I know it's hard to be humble when you have so many successes like you've had. So tell us from the beginning, wherever you want to start.
Okay, that's great. So in high school, I was what was I, 15? The bench press record for freshman was 255, and I did 295. And the
Wow, at
sophomore
15?
record, yeah, 15. And the
Wow.
sophomore record was 290. So as my freshman, I had already broken the sophomore record. And that's when I started realizing if you're good at something, there's a life of privilege. Okay. So my freshman year, um, uh, physiology, they had me up on the table with my shirt off. And I was able to go through high school and literally only go to 4 classes a day and get straight A's. Because after lunch, I was a teacher's aide with the coaches and I got A's in those classes and I went to the gym. So kind of early on, I learned if you're good at something, there's kind of a different life. So when I was 17, I went to my first bodybuilding show. And at the time, I was really against it because the thought of shaving and the thought of doing all that just didn't seem real to me. And um, I saw what these guys could do for their physique, and it just completely pivoted my thought. So I'm one that has always set a goal and gone for it. So at that show, I said, you know what? I'm going to win the teenage San Jose at 18, a year later. And I set my mind to do it. And I was natural and I was all about holistic and all that stuff. But I used science instead of diuretics. A lot of athletes use diuretics. The problem with diuretics is it takes the water out of your muscle and um, it makes you look flat. Where if you use sodium and potassium, you don't get flat. So 6 weeks out from the show, I literally was way ahead of the next guy, way ahead. And he was on steroids. And then a day out, we did a pose down, and I go, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Like he caught up to me. So I ended up winning the show, barely, barely won that show. But I was like, wow, them steroids work. So then I set a goal at 20 years old to win the San Jose and the open, not the novice. That was a bold move to go from teenage right into the open. Because back then, bodybuilding was very popular. Okay. Like
Mm.
the shows back then, you'd have 300 bodybuilders and there'd be 30, 40 guys per weight class. And so you have to realize they cut it down to the top 15 like within a minute. Okay. So three-quarters of guys getting sent home in a minute. And then only the top five make it at night. So when you're in a class of 50 people, you're just hoping you make the night show, right?
Yeah.
Well, I decided I was going to do steroids. And I sat down with my family and I went through the pros and cons and I decided to do it and I ended up winning the whole show. And that's when I kind of got put on the map. And that's when I started having influence and people came to me as, wanting advice on how to do shows. And the gym I worked at the time was a gym called California Gym. And it was all guys. There was no females. It was a very different culture back then. And, everybody was getting ready for contests. It was just all bodybuilders, right? And when I went into that gym, I was 17. At that time, I was bench pressing close to 500 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
17.
I broke
Wow.
all the bench press records in my school. I ended up 495 was my top bench in high school. Okay. So I went into that gym at 17 and I was in a green PE shorts and a half top. Okay. And I put up 4.5 plates my first day. And all those guys were like their late 20s. They were like rock stars to me. I'm a kid. But instantly, like, who is this guy? And I said in my mind, I'm going to beat them all. And it's how I always did things. Like, I didn't let my belief systems get in the way. Like, I was a kid. I weighed 100 and I think 60 pounds. These guys were 250, huge monsters. They're doing nationals, all stuff. Well, I won the San Jose, and then I went on to win
And
the
you
California.
won you were 160
And
pounds
so
and
within
benched
4 or
almost
5 years, I
500
beat them all. And
there. But you were saying that you were 16 and you benched 500. I mean, you were 160 pounds and you benched almost 500.
yeah, I benched 5 plates, which is 495.
How tall were you?
I was 5'8".
160 pounds and you benched 500 pounds. Wow.
Well, okay, let me digress. In the
Okay.
show, I was 167 pounds. My
Hmm.
off-season weight was 185. So I was
Okay.
really 185 doing that. And
Hmm.
then when I did the San Jose, I think my off-season was 220. I was starting to get big then, and then I competed at 198 light heavyweights. I almost every show I compete at 198, which the light heavyweights are 176 to 198. So if you're 198, you're on stage with guys 20 pounds less than you, and it's just you dominate them. And I would have to diet really hard. My diet and conditioning is what I excelled at. And
Mm.
the thing with bodybuilding, the more miserable you are, the better you do. And the fact I use potassium sodium electrolytes to get the water from underneath my skin into the muscle, like, was a game changer. And so I applied science to it, and it really was amazing, amazing journey. Um, I did 15 shows, and a show you have to plan a year out, and you have girlfriends, you have injuries, you have all sorts of life problems, career stuff, and I won 12 overalls. And the highest rank I got was Mr. California. And that was tough because at that level, it's not about what you have, it's about what you don't have. And my back and my legs were world class. Like, if everything grew like my back and legs, I would have won the Olympia. So after I won the California, I was at, right the place of going pro. And the pro level, the drugs are 10 times, like 10 times, like
Mm.
massive amount of drugs. And I think the best bodybuilders really had a body that could handle that level of drug without too many side effects. That's kind of the bottom line. That's what really determined a great bodybuilders. Could they take that level of drugs and not have side effects? And at that point, I said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to build a company.
So pro level is 10 times the drugs. And so you were at that point that you were ready to go pro. And what did you decide?
I decided to build a company. So you've heard of the Wolf of Wall Street. I was
Hmm.
the Wolf of Mortgage. I built it up to 85 offices in 43 states, had 800 loan officers who were the second largest in the country. And I have a mind of systems and duplication, and I lead by example. So for 20 years, I went to the office every day at 7:45, and I wore a tie and a suit every day. Fridays were casual, and I run a tight ship. We had a meeting on Tuesdays at 8:30, and if you're 1 minute late, I'd lock the door. And it was very clear culture, because what people don't realize about time is it's the highest form of respect or disrespect. And I
Hmm.
would tell people, what's a minute? It's not a big deal. Well, if you missed the wire cutoff on Thursday at 1 o'clock and it wires on Friday because you missed it by 1 minute, it doesn't go on record. If it doesn't go on record, the house doesn't transfer. And you've got women's furniture in the driveway, you have hotel, you have all these problems. So my culture, there was a very high level of accountability, a very high level. And I had a zero tolerance for fraud. And I built a really good company. I had good relationships, and I was like old school. Back then, we were using fax, right? And you'd fax something. Well, you never know if somebody got the fax unless you call them and say you got the fax, because otherwise you're assuming the fax machine was plugged in. You're assuming there was paper. You're assuming all these things. So I did everything by systems. And then I created what's called the net branching system, because every agent that would come in wanted a higher split. They want a higher split. So I came out with a system. I'll pay you 90%. They're like, 90%, it's great. I said, yeah, but you got to pay your own rent. They're like, oh, no problem. Well, overnight, I went from a 5% margin to a 10% margin because they were paying their own expenses. And so I had a quarterly training for a week, and it was real systematic. And because I had a high level of accountability, and I was always the number one producer, I did not take leads. We used to do postcards back then, quick postcards. Hey, this happened, this happened. And then I do letters from the heart once every 6 months. I talk to people about a personal struggle. Them postcards, you get 2 loans a month. But because I was always the highest producer, leading by example, it's hard to say the company this, company that, because my production was 10% of my life. 90% was running this company, right? So I had a pretty good run. And I ended up building a mansion, and I had a beautiful wife, and I had 2 kids. And then I decided I was going to make bad decisions. And I did make some bad decisions. And I married a younger woman, and we have a beautiful daughter now. But it resulted in, it was very problematic for my life. And I thought I was above it all because I had this business. But in life, you either tell the truth or you don't. And it really hurt me. So I ended up selling the company in 2005, and I got 3 times EBITDA, but the company, it was on terms. So I only got $1 million up front. The balance was supposed to be paid out, and then they went bankrupt with the recession in 2008. So it was brutal to build a company up after 20 years and sell it off and not get paid. And yeah, so I would mock the sheriff. He'd ask to come inside, ask if he had a search warrant. And I had a martini glass cigar and a robe like Hugh Hefner or whatever. And remember, there's 800 people, and these parties were awesome. And I really enjoyed sharing my mansion with people that will never be in a mansion. I really enjoyed sharing my 100-foot yacht with people that will never go on that, like boat again. I really enjoyed that. And the parties were a lot of work. I didn't drink. But it's funny, even though I was making bad decisions personally, socially, you're a man with a huge house in the mansion, like everybody thinks you're a rock star. And those bad decisions caught up with me. And that sheriff, he had the last laugh. And something happened with my ex-wife, and it parlayed into a big deal. And I was acquitted of everything. I didn't wake up one day and go rogue, but it got on the internet, and it really hurt me. Like, it was hard for me to make a living for 10 years, and it humbled me. And at the time, I started having tremendous pain in my shoulders and my hip from bodybuilding, tremendous pain. And my whole identity, and my ego, I have a big ego, but it's fed by my conditioning, my relationships, my daughters, and my significant other. That's you know the value of a man by the smile of the girl in his arms, right? And that it really got me, and I started drinking heavily, and I started taking oxy to max the pain. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't do anything. And this is back in 2017, and remember, I had sailed around the world. I had lived life to its fullest, right? And it's kind of like my heart goes out to athletes, because 95% are broke in 5 years. And once you have that lifestyle is taken away, you know the difference. Most people don't understand what it's like to have a chef on a yacht. They don't understand what it's like to have the very best privilege. My American Express bill at the time was $300,000 a month. I paid it off every month. So really, I bought whatever I wanted, but I worked hard for it. I worked very hard. Again, I was in that office every day at 7:45. So when that all went down and I didn't get paid for my company, it was kind of a perfect storm. And I was never a drinker. And then because I had so much pain and I couldn't work out, I started drinking, and I started doing oxycodone. And 2020, I literally gained 60 pounds in like 6 months. Like, I was drinking 10 bottles of wine a day, 1 and 3/4 handle on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I was near death, and I had a 0.4 blood alcohol. I went to the emergency room, almost died, 80% mortality. Um, and the wife of my older daughters, I'm very close to. She's like my angel. Her name's Michael Ann. She's always loved me in spite of myself. She took me to the emergency room, and I never drank since, and that was 5 years ago. And I have pictures I will show you. It's unbelievable what happened to myself. And I was a fat guy, and it was horrible because I was always used to respect. Like, people respect the discipline. Like, I've been going to the gym for 43 years. I've got 30,000 hours. I go every day for 2 hours. Okay. And that's my routine. And I eat real clean consistently. And so the surgeries for my shoulders because of bodybuilding were not caught up until 2022. And so I had my hip replaced, and I like walked, and it was amazing. And then I had both shoulders replaced, and all of a sudden I woke up one day without pain. It was like a miracle. Like, it's hard to have a smile on your face when you have pain. It is really hard. And man, now I'm 61 years old and I'm putting muscle on, and my shoulders don't hurt at all. And it's truly unbelievable. Like, it's unbelievable that I can train at this age. And I have a real passion for health and fitness. And it's hard. Like, I think it was good that I got fat because I never could identify with anybody. I was like, man, just eat right. And life got the best of me, and these injuries got the best of me. And I understand oxy, the addiction of it, because if you have pain, it takes care of the problem. So these people have chronic pain, and people aren't compassionate to it. I'm telling you, like, it solves a problem, but it screws you up so bad. So I went back to what I knew. I started going back to the gym, and I made a transformation. Like, right now I'm 220, about 9% body fat. And I can walk into any gym, and the respect you get is instant. There are certain gyms in California that's all minorities, and they don't like old white people. Let's just be honest. And I walk in there, I get instant respect. I walked into the Monaco Yacht Club, the #1 yacht club in the world last year, with a tank top. And I have what every billionaire can have. You know, you can have all the money in the world, but conditioning is everything. And you know, it's such a gift because I've gone through some tremendously hard things, and to have that confidence in my physique, that really wherever I go, it's amazing. And it's been awesome because my daughter decided to do a show about 6 months ago, and she went through a transformation. And 2 weeks ago, we were walking into a Starbucks, and her physique's world class. And then you have her father, and it's just to watch people in awe, and it's amazing. It's such a gift. And so I've had mansions, I've had yachts, and I've had the best cars, crazy cars. But I'll tell you, the status you get from being ripped, it's unbelievable. Like, and I've had both. I've had it all. And you gotta be real. You know, we have mansions, cars, and yachts to attract women. That's the whole thing. I didn't need 9 bathrooms, right? And so it's a real gift. And so I have a passion. We have a real problem in this country with food. 80% of the population's overweight or obese. And any guy that says a dad bod's okay is lying, because I was that person. When I was fat, I would see a guy in shape and it would bother me tremendously. Um, and what's sad is it's hurting the kids. I mean, 4,000 people are going to die today from insulin resistance, cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. And it's all metabolic. And the medical community is oblivious to it because most of them don't even have any education in nutrition. And they're relying on big pharma and drugs, which is not about helping people. It's about making money. And it's all metabolic. And I'm passionate about it. But where it's really tragic is 40% of our kids have diabetes now. 40%. And we've been around 200,000 years. And the last 50 years, the abuse from parents, and it is abuse, that they're feeding these kids processed foods and carbohydrates because they're too busy. The life expectancy of children is less than adults for the first time in the history of human beings. This isn't 50 years. Like, this is all hands on deck. And I'll be honest, most people don't care. I mean, I say this and they're like, oh, that's, you know, they don't even care. So I've now started a thing called the 1% Club. And it's about helping men between 40 and 60 live 10 years longer. What's that worth? What's that worth? It's priceless. Because when you start getting old, you feel it. And I see so many people that are 50 years old and they look 70. And then I go to the gym, you see 80-year-olds looking 60. Because blood flow is everything. If you have blood flow, it keeps your skin looking young. It keeps everything working. And every hour in the gym is 3 hours to your life. And so now I've started this 1% club where I coach high-end clients to be in the best shape of their lives, to have the confidence that goes with it, because it transcends in everything, you know? And I'm really excited about that. I'm just rolling that out now. And I have a company that sells high protein, low carbohydrate foods, burritos, bowls, and cookies. And so, I've been rich twice and poor twice, and now I'm making a comeback. And it's really exciting because I've been doing social media posts for 2 years, 2 years, and now I'm getting decent traction. I get 20 to 30,000 views a day. I'm posting every day on hacks, simple things that people can do to get their hands around this, because everything I say is because I've done it. And I'm a walking testimonial. Like, when I tell people, it's because it works. It's not a theory. Like, I'll give you the biggest myth in the world: Diet Coke's bad for you. That's bullshit. Nobody's dying from Diet Coke, but 4,000 people are going to die from carbohydrates. Well, I heard there's too much bad information out there, and nobody's vetting the people that are talking about it. My A1C is 5.1. My blood pressure is 75 over 115. My resting glucose is 78. So if anybody wants to talk to me with credibility, show me your numbers. And that's what's lacking in today's world. It's people listen to all this, like gluten-free. That's a bunch of hogwash unless you have literally you're allergic to it. Another one, organic. 80% of the certificates are fake. Like, people think they're doing something good. Focus on the problem. Processed foods and carbohydrates. Go down the center of the street. Get rid of soda, get rid of, fruit juice, get rid of plant seed oils, and so I really enjoy doing content every day. And my audience is slowly rising, and I know I'm making a difference. And that's why I appreciate these podcasts, get word out there, because it's a lot easier than people think. See, a lot of people don't want to do anything because they don't even know where to begin. So they start in the first of the year and they go to the gym 5 days that week and they're exhausted and tired. It's not sustainable. I tell people, work out 2 days. Start there. Do 2 days. Walk in the sun 2 days a week. Do that. Don't work out at 5 in the morning. That's not fun. It's not sustainable. On your diet, you could do little things. Like, for instance, creamer. Get rid of creamer. It is the worst thing. It's hydrogenized oil. It's death in a stick. Use protein powder. They have chocolate, they have vanilla. You put it in your coffee. I do it every day. And it tastes amazing. And it's not bad for you. And it's a good way to get protein. So just these little steps make a huge difference. And, I get people challenging me and I'm like, okay, show me your numbers. It gets quiet real fast. I have a video on TikTok. I got 1 million views and I got 5,000 people took the time to hate on me. So you got to have the skin if you're disruptive, Girl Scout cookies. About 5 months ago, I was walking up and the moms are out there having the kids selling Girl Scout cookies. The moms are having the kids peddle poison. Poison. I did a post on it. Very disruptive. How can you not support the Girl Scouts? This is tragic. Well, then Joe Rogan did a post on it. And then a class action lawsuit started. And now 2 of the flavors are coming off the market, and I'm pretty sure within a year, they're going to be done because they're playing on people's emotion. This supports the girls. It's poison. Make a good cookie. You know what I mean? And so it's part of that is being disruptive and making a difference,
Oh yeah, 100%. So
So
so you had 2 companies. Can you tell us the numbers? You sold 2 companies?
yeah, I sold, first one was Olympic funding, and I did 50 million in revenue for many years. And I sold that for 3 times EBITDA. And then I built a retail
Wow.
bank. And that was fun because getting capital for that bank, we capitalized it in 60 days. Um,
Wow.
and then I decided I was going to get in the food space. That is very hard to get into unless you have very deep pockets. And I got into it after I got in a world of hurt. So after I got in a world of hurt, I was all over Google as the bodybuilder that was a bad boy, right? So I ended up selling cars. And so I would buy 20 cars a month at the auction, Subarus and Volvos, people walk up and hand me cash, and I buy the car for 2 and sell it for 4. And I did 20 of those a month. I did very well. 850 cars in 4 years. I didn't like it though, because certain demographics are always late. They're either late an hour, they're late 2 days. And the level of disrespect drove me crazy. And it was 24/7. You got to call it. It was never relaxing. So I did that for 3 years. I sold 850 cars. I did very well. And then I got my captain's license. And I had never needed my license because I owned the boat, you know? So I got my captain's license. I started doing charters, which was very profitable. 2022, I'd make 2,700 for 4 hours because it was all COVID money, right? It was all free money. And then 2023, that 2,700 went down to like 1,800. And then 24, it was hard to get 1,200, you know? And, back in 22, when I started that, you talk to 10 people, you close 9 deals, because I was the captain, I was the marketing, I owned the boat, I did it all, right? And then in 24, man, 1 out of 10. I mean, you're talking to 9 people that are not going to pay you money. It's just a lot, a lot of stuff. So I got out of that, and now I'm really pursuing YouTube because there's more money in YouTube and TikTok than all sectors combined. Crypto, stock market, real estate. There's more money because what they've done with YouTube is they privatized movie production. Sony, Paramount Pictures, Amazon, Netflix, all these companies are producing movies now are being produced on YouTube, and the logarithm allows people to find the content that they want, and it's really interesting because when I first year of YouTube and TikTok, I didn't get very many views. It bruised my ego. I'm like, nobody cares, right? And you gotta be consistent. And so I go every day. I post on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube every day. I've done it for 2 years, and I'm getting more and more, following. And I'm really excited because I think some tremendous opportunities come my way because people are tired of being fat. It's miserable. Like I I don't drink, I don't do drugs, I don't do pot, I don't do anything, but I have a lot of energy. And that's the greatest thing in the world. And I've had some really difficult challenges in my life, and I got to tell you that working out, it's the best depression medicine in the world. Like the best. I just recently went through a pretty significant breakup, and I love with my heart all of it. And man, thank God I got the gym, and thank God I got my daughters. It just was very painful on me, but it's it's the greatest gift. And I'm really good at helping people find easy things they can incorporate to create sustainability and a lifestyle. You know, um, my oldest daughter, Haley, 24, she graduated #1 from St. Mary's College in um, California here. And she works for literally the top financial firm in the world. And then Rachel, 22, decided to do a bodybuilding show 6 months ago. And she graduated with A's and abs. And what I mean is honors, and she was dieting for a show during finals. So here she's starving, and she's so like, fatigued, and she's studying and she got straight A's. Like the only student in that school that was prepping for a bodybuilding show and still got honors. Like it's just weird stuff. So it's been really fun to watch my daughters excel, be world class, literally, be beautiful, but be humble. And I think all the stuff I went through caused me to be humble, you know, and really confidence when humble, I think is a really good trait because I know what I'm good at, and the things I'm not good at, I lean into every day to be my best version, and I ask my daughters once a month, what can I do to be a better father? And I think a lot of people in this day and age don't like to be vulnerable. They don't like to even put because it's weakness. To me, it's strength. A man that can admit that he's sorry and he'll change his behavior, a man that can say, I will work on this, is awesome, you know? So I don't know. I'm just super excited.
Yeah. Tell me more about this. That is awesome. And tell me more about this like food company that you have going on right now. You're making
So yeah,
healthy
I have
snacks.
the fitness meal. Well, it's not a snack. I have a burrito that's 35 grams of protein. It's 9 ounces, big sucker. Tastes amazing because
Mm.
if it doesn't taste amazing, people are not going to eat it. So if I had a burrito that would make you look 20 at 150 years old, you wouldn't eat it. So tastes amazing, pork, steak, and chicken. And it's got 25 grams of fiber. Okay. So the tortilla is high fiber, but it's not like a normal tortilla that's high fiber. Most high fiber tortillas taste like cardboard. They're very rough. This is like magic. I have clients that eat one burrito a day. It's the magic pill, and they lose 10 pounds a month. Because when you have that much protein and that much fiber, your appetite goes away. Voila, the magic pill, you know? It's like Ozempic in a natural form. And then I have bowls, and then I have the first cookie in the world at 16 grams of protein, 10 carbohydrates, and 10 proteins, 10 fibers, 0 carbohydrates, 0 sugar, and it tastes amazing. So it's like a meal replacement, you know, because it allows my clients to be able to have snacks and meals on the go that are easy, fast food on the go, if you will, you know, fast food that's healthy.
That is awesome. I'm super excited to try that burrito. I'm not gonna
Yeah,
lie. I love me a good burrito. How do
they're
you, so
they're
you're
good.
telling me about like health stuff, seed oils. Is this all seed oil free?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my
Now,
goodness.
somebody can criticize the ingredients on the tortilla. The tortilla is processed, okay? And
Hmm.
somebody can be critical of it. 4,000 people are going to die a day from insulin resistance. Nobody's dying from a low carb tortilla. And that's the problem with people is they'll pick stuff apart and they'll, oh, I see this or I see that, you know? I've only got 5 ingredients in the burrito. I got cheese, salsa, riced cauliflower, and meat. That's all I have. The bowls are perfect. They don't have a wrap or anything. So I try to make the ingredients as clean as possible, but at the end of the day, the experience has to be amazing. They got to taste great, you know? And it's amazing how many people are critical and they don't have a solution. It's just a sign of their insecurity. They're going to pick
Yeah.
something apart, you know?
Oh yeah.
So
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Where do you sell these products?
online.
So you're online. Are you in any retailers?
No, no, I'm not.
Awesome. And can people get access? So they go follow William on Instagram. Can they get access to
Yeah, yeah, it's
your yummies?
thefitnessmeal.com.
Super exciting. Super exciting. And the cookies on there too.
Yeah,
So how'd you come up with the cookie? You like
I'm a food
cookies or
scientist,
yeah?
so I do all my own formulas.
Okay. So tell us,
The
because I know
cookie
you
was
you
tough. Let
like
me tell you, that cookie was tough.
okay.
It was tough to come up with a cookie that had that much fiber, 10 grams of fiber, and 0 sugar, 0 carbs, and tastes good.
Hmm.
It doesn't have that aftertaste that some sweeteners have, you know? That was a tricky one. It took me years.
How'd you sweeten it?
I use allulose and I use stevia.
Stevia. I like it. I
Stevia is a
like it.
plant-based sweetener. And, you know, people will cut down sweeteners. Sweeteners are inert. They don't do anything in your body. But sugar kills 4,000 people a day. Let's focus on the problem. Focus, you know?
Hmm.
Not on these little oh, I heard this and I heard that. Okay, let's get the doctor who said that, who did the test. Let's look at his body fat. Let's look at his numbers. Because I'm kind of like a person, like I don't listen to poor people on how to acquire wealth. I don't listen to single people on how to be married. I don't listen to fat people on how to work out. You
Oh
know, and
yeah.
that's my edge. I'm a walking testimonial. I've always been one to lead by example. So if somebody wants to argue with me, let's have the discussion. You know, and a lot of people on my posts, some people get negative on there, and I just block them. Because I'm not going to argue with somebody online. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because most people don't even have a profile picture. So you're talking about a 300-pound person that wants to be critical. I just block them. But every once in a while, if somebody takes me on, I'm like, let's compare numbers first. You know, tell me where your numbers are at. Let's vet each other first before we share an opinion. And it gets quiet real fast.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. And so are you having this food company? Is that helping out with your coaching? What's your main priority right now? The coaching or the food?
The coaching, the food industry has taken a huge beating in the last couple of months. Really hard, like really, really hard. People's priorities right now are DoorDash. You know, they'll
Mm.
spend because with my food, just the last mile is $32. Just getting them there in a frozen box is $32. So I have to sell 12 burritos for $69, right? And 32 of that is the last mile. Well, people don't understand that, so they'll do DoorDash for a meal for 60. So the industry right now in food space is very tough. So right now my priority is coaching. I'm looking for 8 guys, 8 in the country that want to live 10 years longer and they want to be part of the 1% club. Just 8. That's all I want. I don't want to dilute myself. And I guarantee results. And a lot of people are like, what do you mean? I guarantee results. We sit down, we establish your goals, and as long as you follow the program, it's gonna happen. You know? And so many people are like, wow, I never knew that, or I never even thought of that, you know? A big key is getting high protein, and you got to have a few tricks to get it because it's hard to eat 6 chicken breasts a day.
Mm.
You know?
Give us some free tips here on, say somebody's at home, they're fat, and they're like, hey, I want to look good for my wife or for my girlfriend. What's the first steps, easy steps they can do today?
Double their protein.
Double it.
Double it. Just start out whatever, double it.
Protein powder, eating meat.
Yeah, eating meat. That's the easiest thing because most people are so deficit on protein, and protein, more the better. It's good to get at least 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's the first thing. And if you do that, you're going to lose weight. The second thing is, go ahead.
How do you get past that mental block? Because I know, like, talking to, again, you said was just bad information out there. There's so much bad information. When somebody says, hey, I'm trying to lose weight, and you tell them eat double the amount of food, of course you're saying eat double the amount of protein, not eat double the amount of McDonald's, right? But eat double the amount of protein. But then they're like, well, I'm trying to lose weight. Why would I want to eat more? What do you say to a person like that?
I don't say anything. I'm the coach.
Just listen to me, right? Look at my body, listen to me.
Look at what I'm doing. Just listen. And I don't have to sell people. Okay. And so I really don't come across that at all. It's like, this is what you do. And it's the fastest way to do it. And I have hacks on how to get that amount of protein and make it very easy. And people are like, wow, I never even thought of it. So my whole thing is make it easy on people and make it a lifestyle and make sure it's sustainable, because diets don't work. People go on diets and they get exasperated and they fall off of it and they gain more weight back. It's a yo-yo cycle. What I do is sustainable. I'm 61 and I look probably 45, and I feel like I'm 20. It's amazing. The second thing I would say is get rid of fat. There's no good fat. Okay. And a lot of people, oh, what do you mean? There's fat in protein sources. So you get your fat there. Get rid of dairy, get rid of cheese, butter, all that. It's just going to store as fat. And there's so many other things you can do, little sauces you can put on there. I got 3 sauces right now. They're 5 calories a serving, and they're garlic, herb, and teriyaki. I put that on my rice and my potatoes. Those 2 things are a game changer. And then the last thing I'll tell people, the greatest drink in the world is lemon juice and stevia. It's the greatest thing. It's great for gut health. It's great for curbing your appetite. It's great for the sweet tooth. Like, it's really, really good. I'm a huge fan of that.
That's some good advice. Do you count calories?
No.
So you just kind of have like an idea in your head, or what would you suggest to somebody who wants to change their life?
Okay, so I drink coffee in the morning. I put protein in my coffee. Okay, so before I even go to the gym, I've got 60 grams of protein in my body. And then I come home and I have a protein drink. Now I'm at 90 grams, okay? Because what's really interesting, John, is that I thought I knew it all. I really did. And then I started studying a lot of things in the last year or two. And there are things I'm learning that are game changers. I'll give you, for instance, never do cardio in the gym. When you work out, you're catabolic. So do cardio, you're just extending that problem, And so I stopped doing that. And now I walk either in the morning or late afternoon, usually late afternoon, 30 minutes. I do it in sunlight. I do it with my daughter. It's bonding. It's a game changer. So because you're catabolic in the gym, when you come home, you want to have a protein shake immediately. Okay, immediately. Because by the time you eat food, you're waiting. So I do that immediately. So now I'm at 90 grams of protein. Then I prepare 2 pounds of meat. Okay, chicken breast, turkey, whatever. And I graze on that throughout the day, either with rice or potatoes. And then, so I get about 270 grams of protein a day. I get about 100 carbohydrates. And for at night, I have watermelon, strawberries, or I have 000 yogurt. It's 16 grams of protein, no carbs, no sugar, no nothing. I put blueberries in it. And then I like popcorn.
I love popcorn.
I just do. It's so good.
We have a company we work with, Opopop, and they're super cool. They flavor the kernel, so you get like the bag of the kernels, and they have different flavors for the kernel
Oh,
itself.
interesting.
And yeah, so you pop it at home, and it flavors the popcorn, and so it's very subtle, and it's really good. And some of them are really potent, but yeah, I love popcorn. My son does too. But that's awesome. Give us
Yeah.
some motivational tips here. What would you say to somebody, get them up motivational wise, that helped you or
That's an
anything?
interesting. Let me digress on the question for a second. Okay, so when I built the mortgage company, you know, I was hiring guys that are making 50,000 a year, and I'm going to teach them how to make 500 to 700,000 a year without a college degree. The biggest factor was their belief systems. Don't spill the milk. You can't do that. No. 95% of parents do a terrible job because they're limiting their children's belief systems with you can't do that. No, don't do that. Don't spill the milk. All negativity. My daughters, I've never told them when to eat. I've never told them when to sleep. I've never told them when to study. I'm very liberal. They're smart. They figure it out. But maybe I'm a good role model. So I always kind of wondered, can you teach desire? Can you light somebody's pilot light? I think the best way to do that is I found motivating people is finding out what they want. I say, what do you want? They say, I want to make six figures. Okay, cool. What's that going to do for you? You get a long pause because the best way to motivate people is what they want, right? So if somebody was looking to motivate themselves, I'd probably say get a picture off the internet, put it up on the refrigerator of what you want to look by. Because the fact you see it every day, your odds of achieving that go up 10 times just by seeing it. It's called a
Mm.
reticular activator. Um, but I'm not sure you can motivate people. People have to get to a place where, like, 80% of the population is obese or fat. I'm telling you, it's a miserable existence. And anybody who says different is lying. You're tired. You don't want to take your shirt off. It's all bad. You know what I mean? And I think people have to get to a place where they fundamentally want to make a change. The biggest issue I have with men is their damn egos. Okay. Their egos get in the way. Well, I could do it myself. I don't need that. Um, they're not willing. And like I said, I only want 8 clients. I only want 8 clients in the country that are willing to pay me what I'm worth to get them in the best shape of their lives. And will trust me on the journey because the journey, most of it starts here. It's it's helping people get past these belief systems. Belief systems stand for BS, and yeah, they are BS. But motivation, I think it has to come from inside, where people are, I'm done. Because kids don't want to be fat. They don't. There's too much information now, and kids don't respect their parents that are overweight. You just, how do you respect somebody that doesn't have discipline? You know what I mean?
Mm.
And human beings don't. We respect people with discipline. So I think motivation has to be internal, and people have to want to make a change. And man, how hard is it to eat a burrito a day that tastes great? I mean, seriously, it's less than McDonald's. You can't make it any easier, but they at least gotta make the effort.
Hmm. How did you get so motivated? You mind telling us a little bit about how you grew up with your parents, or was
Okay,
it from
so
school?
do you know what a dismissive avoidant is?
Tell me.
Okay, so there's two attachment styles. One's secure, one's insecure. A dismissive avoidant is somebody that in their younger years, their emotional needs were not taken care of. So my father was a Top Gun pilot, okay, and he was a colonel in the Air Force. He was a badass, but he was a dismissive avoidant. We weren't allowed to talk. We had a rule at the table. You were seen and not heard, and it was tough. And it's funny because I have always had this intense drive to be validated by my father. I was really good at football. He'd never go to the games. I would be starting offense and defense, and the clown next to me wasn't in the games, and the parents were there rooting him on. I'd go to bodybuilding shows, he wouldn't go. And bodybuilding's tough, man. You're starving yourself for 6 months. It's a tough sport. Okay, it's harder than anything because you're starving yourself. And he wouldn't go. And I was seeking that validation. So my brother and sister did not have my drive. I just had an intense amount of drive, and I think it came from proving to my father I'm worthy and validated. And it's really interesting. People either deal with your childhood or you don't. And half
Mm,
the population is dismissive because their emotional needs were not taken care of when they were kids. Okay. And they're
mm,
going to go through life rolling through one relationship after another, blaming other people. And secure relationships are amazing because they allow you to bond with people with boundaries. So I married a woman named Michael Ann, and she taught me to listen to that 6-year-old little boy and become a secure relationship. And up until I was 40, I was a very bad man. I made very bad decisions. I had girlfriends all over the country, and I had a lot of money. And I was honest with them. I told they all knew, right? But I was fun. I had money, and I take care of women nicely. But I never thought what it was like to be in their shoes, thinking they were going to marry me, and I was never going to, I was not doing that. I never thought about the deception with my wife. Okay, so I hurt a lot of people. Then on my 40th birthday, my dad says he loves me, and he validated me. I never, ever cheated again, ever. And I realized when a man cheats, it's not about the woman, it's about he's insecure. He's trying to manifest those feelings, he's insecure. How do I know that was me? And so, knock on wood, 21 years, I've been perfect on that level, because I'm secure in myself. I don't need women's validation to tell me I'm a good guy, you know? And women are scandalous. I get a lot of women to DM me and stuff, and it's like, I have a girlfriend. They're like, oh, it's okay. No, it's not. You either have integrity or you don't. And
mm,
and so that was a real game changer for me, and realizing the validation from your parents is so important.
mm,
Um, but what's weird is I've always thought out of the box. I'll be unhumble for a moment, okay, if I may. I built two $50 million companies. So what? That's easy. But I raised three incredible daughters, world class, beautiful, and humble. Okay, now we're getting a little more serious. Then I sailed around the world 8 times. That's 25,000 hours on the water. And let me tell you, Mother Nature, my spirituality is Mother Nature. Because if you don't respect her, she will kill you. It's very simple. And sailing, you have to plan a year ahead of time. There's no pulling it over. To get through the Panama Canal with an agent means you you arrive in Cologne, Colombia, which is a nasty spot, and you want to sit there for 2 weeks. You got to make the appointment a year ahead of time. You're 2 hours late, you missed the appointment. So the timeliness is everything. And I had to be super mechanical. I know a lot about caterpillars, northern lights, water makers, generators. You have to be. There's no AAA. Well, during all that time, I competed in 15 bodybuilding shows and won 12 overalls. And I did all this concurrently. So I have a very high bandwidth um, for doing crazy stuff. And it's a good thing and it's a curse. I think a lot of people are intimidated by intelligence. And intelligence is, I mean, I can't even spell right. I spell so bad, spell check doesn't figure it out.
ah,
But where my intelligence lies is I can figure things out. I'm not a web designer. I built my website. I'm not a digital marketer. I built all that. I do my own editing. Pretty much everything I've done. Sailing, I self-taught. My mortgage company, self-taught. You know, um, there was no YouTube back then, and so
mm,
my gift, which is also a curse, is I'm able to figure things out and do things with all due respect that other people don't do. And I think life, we got one shot at it. We got one shot at it. And why be mediocre? Why not be the best version we can be? Because before you know it, you wake up old. And I've had brush with death twice. I had a zero point 0.4 blood alcohol, 80% mortality, and I got sepsis. And sepsis, my white blood cell count was 24, and that's an 80% mortality. And I like living, and so I want to live it to its fullest. But
mm,
this is I won't lie that this last comeback hasn't been hard, because the food space is very difficult unless you get very deep pockets behind you. And it's hard to get deep pockets behind you unless you have sales. And to get sales, you need marketing. So it has been hard. So that's why I'm going in the direction of this coaching. And it's
mm,
interesting. with YouTube and TikTok, you have to have a certain amount of viewing hours before you get paid. So TikTok, I got enough hours. I don't have enough subscribers. YouTube, I have enough subscribers, not enough hours. And then I hired a coach. And he's like, Bill, don't worry about that. That'll come in time, maybe a year from now. Okay. He goes, you only need 8 clients, 8 guys out of 180 million men that want to be their best version ever and have a nice livelihood. So that's where I pivoted. I'm just looking for 8 guys that want to
Mm.
be their best version and they want to live 10 years longer. And I say that because when I do coaching, the first thing we start with blood work. I've done my blood work every 6 months, my entire life. I don't rely on doctors. 4,000 people are going to die today under the current medical regime. They've failed. They're failing. If you want to live longer, don't listen to your doctor. Get your blood test. Know what your numbers are. Because if you don't know what your numbers are, you're leaving everything to a chance, you know? So I approach my training very scientifically. We get the numbers, we get this, and so I can really understand what's going on with your body.
Mm. Um, since we're on the topic of relationships, what's some like really big advice since you have such successful daughters? I'm so curious. You know, me as a father, I have a son.
Oh my God, that's
Not
such
not the best relationship with my father either, but it did motivate me to be like, I want to be the best dad ever and have the most successful son, but don't want to push him, you know, and be.
John, what a great question. I mean, it is such a great question. I've had mansions, cars, yachts, beautiful women. I've had it all. On my deathbed, I'm not going to go, oh man, did I have a nice Lamborghini? No, I've talked to 4 people on a deathbed and they talk about the regrets of their relationships, all of them. So the fact you asked that question, and I got to know you a little bit on the previous call, is you are a good father. You are taking the time. So I'll give you, for instance, it's about sacrificing. My daughter, to go through the most expensive college in California, I literally ate at a food bank. I was going through a downturn because the whole sheriff nonsense, and I sacrificed immensely to get her through college. You can't buy that. Um, the second daughter, I had to sacrifice immensely to put her through college. Um, you can't buy that. But I'll give you, for instance, I've taken my daughter on Valentine's Day, this M&M ceramic cup full of M&Ms and flowers to their schools. It's in the second grade. I walk in the class and all the girls look at me like, where's my dad? Okay. Now, I've done that since second grade. Now, we got a 24-year-old in San Francisco in a high security building. We got a 22-year-old in Tennessee, and we got a 12-year-old in another school. And this year I pulled it off. Their high school, 1,600 girls. I used to have to put the flowers on a table, okay? Flowers on the table for security, right? 1,590 fathers couldn't be bothered to spend $10 and 10 minutes to show their daughters love and appreciation. So the key is pay attention and be vulnerable and be willing. Like my 22-year-old, she's feisty. Woo! When I became a drunk, I was very like, when you're a drunk, you don't want to go out, you don't want to be seen, nothing, right? And when I got my act together, she says to me, "Who do you think you are to disappear for 5 years and all of a sudden show up and demand my attention?" And I didn't say anything. I appreciated the fact she was comfortable saying that. And just recently, I pissed her off. She goes, "You need to stop taking my content and putting your name on it. I don't want to hear from people." Like she checked me, and she just graduated college in May, and she just got hired by a firm last week, 5 interviews. And I said, you're going to be awesome at asserting boundaries with innate personality, you know, because most fathers, they're focused on their career. They're not focused on relationships. They're not focused on really understanding what a teenager goes through. Because my 24-year-old, man, she is a love bug. And see, when my ex-wife was pregnant, I didn't like kids. I was the guy on the airplane that complained about babies crying. I wasn't into it at all. And the minute my oldest came out of the birth canal, I went through a paradigm shift. Like, I pivoted right then. And again, I'm different. I'm ridiculously competitive. Okay. I'm ridiculously driven like crazy. And, but I have high empathy. I'm a super empath and I have high compassion. And I feel people's energy for the good and the bad, and it's kind of a curse sometimes because I'm so damn sensitive. And I think a lot of people take as weakness, and I'm not. I'm just very sensitive person. But my external persona doesn't seem like that. You know what I mean? And I don't have a lot of close interpersonal relationships. I've had huge social circles, small social circles, and I just went through a recent thing with my ex-girlfriend. We built this huge social circle, and it kind of all blew up in our face. And I'm kind of like, God, when am I going to get done trying to impress people and
Mm.
just be happy, in the room with my daughters, my significant other? So I'm reflecting a lot lately, but fathers, be in the moment, be vulnerable, and pay attention to the details. Like, I don't buy my girls cards. I write them notes because anybody can buy a card. I write them notes that's specific to what's going on in their life. And when I ask them what I can do, like just last weekend, I belong to St. Francis Yacht Club where I have an island in the Delta. It's like Disneyland on steroids, Delta's inner waterway.
Mm.
And I said to them, hey, what can I do to be a better father? And one of them said, be in the moment. Put your phone down. Don't be texting. I was like, okay. And so being vulnerable, be willing to listen and not fix, not say, but, just, okay. And I think a lot of men are dismissive. They were taught you don't cry, don't spill the milk, man up, be tough, and they're
Mm.
dismissive. And it's hard to build a relationship with a woman if you're dismissive. It's very hard. And unfortunately, there's a lot of dismissive women now. You know, um, it's interesting. So that's a great question, and I wish more people spent more time on relationships because when I ask people their goals, it's always about business. Like it's just business, right? I'm gonna. What about fun? Oh, huh? What do you mean? What about fitness? Huh? What about your relationships? It's like having a tire and you have four flat spots, right? It's not good. You know, I've made huge money and I've been poor. Life is much more comfortable with money, but it doesn't define me as much as you used to.
Mm.
I'm more about experiences now more than material items.
Mm. I like that. That's some golden advice right there. Let's talk about some education. I'm really curious. How did you educate yourself for this? Did you go to school? How'd you self-learn? I know YouTube wasn't a thing.
No, there was no YouTube. I mean, when I first sailed, there was no GPS. We used a sextant. It was cryptic. Um, how I educated myself. So I went to San Jose State University. I got a degree in marketing and food science. Now I did food science because I thought it was going to help me with macros, protein, carbohydrates, whatever. It's really not. It's like, oh, you cook this food at 212 degrees for a certain amount of time to avoid botulism. Okay, I actually did not do good with it, um, but I got my degree. Sailing, oh my God. So my dad went to Europe. He came back and we bought a 27-foot sailboat. This is a 76. We didn't know anything. We crashed into the dock. We ran it aground. Like we beat the crap out of that boat. And then we thought we'd be funny and have a 35-foot boat built in Taiwan. Okay. So that was at the time, that was a big boat, right? And so we did that. We ran it for 7 years. His style was very different. He would drink a lot and he'd crash the boat. And I was very methodical. And then we built a 49 footer. Well, at the time, that was a really big boat. And then I started to take my friends out on it sailing and I realized I really love sailing. So then I bought a 45-foot catamaran in the Caribbean. And it was a French charter cat that was 2 years old. And it would charter for $25,000 a week. French people don't like Americans. Okay. And who wants to spend 25 grand with an attitude, right? So I literally got this boat for pennies on the dollar. All of a sudden I have a boat in the Caribbean. And technology back then was taking off. So I bought what's called a Trimble Nav graphic, and it's like the GPS in your car, but this is back in 95. And like you turn the thing on and there's the boat on the screen. It was life-changing. And then we had email back in the day, but it was 45 cents a character through satellites. And you could get weather reports through satellites. So that was a complete pivot from technology to make sailing really enjoyable, and because there was a time that I was hanging off the Golden Gate Bridge in fog for 2 days going in circles because we didn't have radar. We didn't have GPS. So we didn't want to crash on the rocks. You're wasting 2 days going in circles. So all this stuff, it was really weird. I was on the front end of technology, but I was never, but I was always back a notch. Like when I started my mortgage company, it was in '91. We used a typewriter. 1003 is on a typewriter. And then I did 2 loans and I bought a computer, and it was called the 286 back in the day. And I used a software called Contour. And from day one, I was using a computer and software where people are using typewriters for 10 years, you know? And so I've always been embracing technology, and self-taught in pretty much everything, you know? And that's what's cool about, this fitness is like, man, I'm 61, I'm putting muscle on, and I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of things where I thought, like, I'll give you, for instance, I used to think you had to have 30 grams of protein 8 times a day. It's a myth. And I kind of knew it was a myth because sometimes eating 100 grams, it was fine. Well, now studies show that you can eat 100 grams at one time, your body's just going to assimilate it slowly. So that whole myth, my entire career of 8 meals, 30 grams each, every 2 hours, it was a myth. Cardio. I always did cardio in the gym. Catabolic. Now, you know what I mean? So it's weird, John, that I feel like in the last year or two, I've learned so much, and I've studied psychology. This whole dismissive, avoidant, and attachment styles was problematic in my current relationship. And I had to study it because there's certain behaviors that if you didn't know it, you would take it personal, And so all self-taught, I would say. That's really like bodybuilding. I thought, wow, potassium gets rid of the water under your skin. Sodium, like you load up on sodium, you get a lot of water in your system, and you load up potassium, it pulls out water in the muscle. So it was science. And then the first time I did it, it worked magically. Like magically, your muscles growing, your skin's contracting. It was just awesome. Where diuretics, your body's 70% muscle, 70% water. So when you get rid of the water, it's getting rid of it everywhere,
Mm. When you started the mortgage company, did you have a coach? Did you work for a company? Did you read books? Were you into books?
No, I never read books. I
You
didn't have the
just like,
patience
I'm
for it.
gonna sell mortgages, and
No,
that's what you
I
did.
worked for a company for about a year, and we were selling loans literally 5% over prime. It was like crazy subprime loans. And I remember one day I did a loan for somebody, and he was rainbow funding, and he was under Jesus Christ and the Lord. And he was making $8,000 on this loan. I was at the sign off. He was not. I'm making $400. And the customer says to me, oh, you're not part of spirituality in Jesus Christ. And I sat there and gone, I'm not making the $8,000. I'm making $400. I'm here doing the work. And that's the day it pivoted for me. Like, no, I'm not going to work for a company. I'll start my own company. So at the time I said, hey guys, will you sponsor me to get my broker's license? And they said, yeah. So I got all the classes. I got my broker's license. Then I quit. And the first month I started was May 2001. No, yeah, May 2001. And I didn't have a computer. I had no paper. And I had subleased 1,500 square feet from 5,000 square feet from a title company. Now, mind you, I'm a bodybuilder, okay? I was extremely popular at the time from Mr. California, had a huge influence. And within 3 months, we took over the whole space. I had like 40 people working for me. And the processor I hired from day one worked with me to the last day. And one day the title company came in to see the space, and I'm supposed to be off in the corner, and I took over the whole space. And so that's where it went. And then I started building offices, and then I came up with this branching system where you could come on my platform. I'd software, systems, all that, rate sheets, pricing, because we did high volume, so we got additional incentives for the thing. And you just pay me 10%. And that was gold. It's like, I'll pay you 90%. People are like, oh, that's awesome. You just got to pay your own rent, because trust me, when people are on the hook for expenses, they look at their business very differently. And it was a good run. I really enjoyed it. Just I would never sell my company on terms again. You cash out, you're done. Like just give me money and let me move on. I was devastating, to build something up and not get paid for it.
Oh, wow. How much did you get a certain percent of it
I
paid?
got 10% upfront.
And then they never paid you the rest.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was devastating. And it remember kind of coincide with the sheriff thing. So it was kind of a perfect storm of situations where my retirement dried up like literally overnight. And then I've got this situation with the sheriff, and anybody who said there's racism in this country needs to spend 2 days in a maximum security prison. That sheriff put me in with 9 black guys and 10 Mexicans. And I sat on the floor for 2 days. And it was brutal. There was 4 guys on death row. I'm not a gangster. I'm a white collar dude in an environment. I just want to get out of their life. And then one day I took a shower. The second day I took a shower and I was in shape. And immediately then it changed. Everybody respected me. So I was 2 days in that place. I'll never, it was unbelievable.
Oh my goodness.
I have a passion. If I were ever going to do a charity event, it would probably to give felons a second chance. Because what I witness in there is once you're in the system, 95% chance you're going to stay in it. You're not going to get a job. They don't know how to make money. They're really scared of the outside. Because if I go outside, I got to make money and I don't know how to make money. I can't get a job. Either that or children's diabetes were the 2 things that I'd really love to do a charitable charity event. I'm really good at throwing parties.
I'll be there. Throw a big party.
My
Charitable
girlfriend
event,
and I, in the last
for
3
kids.
years, we did 5 parties and we did 80 hosted events on the yacht club. And I spent a lot of money on the wrong people and I learned that hard way again.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, William, it was such a pleasure talking to you. I mean, I just could tell that you could talk for absolutely hours about all this. And I very much value your time. Thank you so much for coming on. But give us some plugs. How can we hear about you? If anybody out there is listening, if you want to be one of those 8 guys, you better call them up quick. How can they get in contact with you?
Did you want to put my pictures on? Do you want me to send you the pictures?
Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe I can send a QR code.
Perfect.
Yeah. I'll do that.
I'll do that.
When you you haven't seen my fat picture, have you?
I haven't. I'm excited to see it.
You're gonna
yeah, who's this guy?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, I'll be excited to see it. Well, thank you again, William. This is Iohn Klein with Brandwidth. If you guys find value in this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing, share this with somebody who needs to hear it. And God bless, guys. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a great day.